So Fallout 4's Creation Club got a new update. If you guys missed my video yesterday, I go over what we actually got, what was broken, and even some of the next things coming that look particularly interesting. But in this video, what I'm going to do is actually do a deeper dive on the things that did get added. In particular, I want to compare the XO2 armor that was added to the free alternative that we've had for a few years at this point. So first and foremost, the XO2 Power Armor from Creation Club. This is going to run you about 700 credits, which equates to roughly $7 depending on which bundle you do buy. In order to gain access to this armor, the first thing you're going to have to do is actually go through a quest. I personally really enjoyed this quest, and I think it's one of the highlights of this. And probably up there is one of the best quests we've seen thus far through Creation Club. More or less, you're going to begin reading about the Black Devil, somebody that if you played the right sounds or tunes would actually come and save people in the Commonwealth from whatever foes they did face. I don't want to spoil too much from this, but it was certainly interesting, and it definitely got me involved and more invested in getting this eventual armor. You hear some tales about how some settlers knew about the Black Devil, but suddenly he disappeared and how they wanted to get him back. But as you progress, you're going to have to activate certain radio towers, and you're going to run into an interesting foe, Enclave Remnants. So in reality, these guys just kind of act as gunners with a little bit of a different name, but it's certainly interesting that Bethesda brought the Enclave back even in just a small cameo into Fallout 4, and I definitely appreciate that. After you finish the quest, you actually get a lot of context as to why they were there and why they pop up in certain other settings. It's kind of a weird dynamic. I want to tell you about the quest and talk about how good it was, but I don't want to spoil it for those of you who actually go and complete it yourself. But outside of that, how about some of the tangibles you actually get from this mod? Well, first and foremost, you're actually going to get a new radio station featuring some of the patriotic songs from Fallout 3, typically Enclave themed. Then of course you also get the XO2 Power Armor itself, which is definitely high quality. I would actually say compared to a lot of the other Power Armors through Creation Club and even mods out there, visually this is definitely one of the nicest looking. And a nice feature included with this one is if you've actually purchased Creation Club skins for Power Armors in the past, they will apply to this one. So it's kind of giving some of those past purchases a little bit more value, but for example, the Onyx paint was I believe in the original batch of Creation Club releases, I bought it then, and while customizing this armor, I did have the option to put on Onyx paint and some other camos and things like that. And of course, the most notable and famous feature on this Power Armor is actually going to be the Tesla modifications, which are going to have their own and specific upgrade slot, so it's actually separate from the Power Armor paint job. This is fairly notable because as you do have these installed, you're going to have those kind of bronze looking shoulder pads that don't always mesh with whatever's going on under it. And one thing I really noticed with these Tesla coils while they were installed was they weren't super notable, especially compared to the free version of this mod. Even though they are very unique and cool looking, and I really like the changes it makes to the aesthetic of the armor, they were definitely a little bit more on the simple, or maybe the better word is reserved spectrum, as they weren't as loud as I kind of expected them to be. And that's pretty much it. I definitely think the story for this one is one of the most memorable. You get a cool new radio station in the game that there's definitely free mods adding in, and the Power Armor definitely looks particularly good with a few customization options that aren't offered elsewhere. With all that being said though, how does it actually compare to the free alternative done by Noctium and Dogtooth CG? So that mod has had a very long history. It came out all the way back in 2016 and it actually literally just got an update 2 days ago, adding in a few more paint jobs. As far as strengths and weaknesses go, I think the free version is definitely better on the customization side. You have some high quality paint jobs that are quite distinctive and notable, but also from previous Fallouts. And especially the Tesla version, it really stands out and has kind of a powerful feel when you're using it. But even beyond that, they also do have that cryo version, which also looks particularly awesome. And on the other hand, the paid version definitely has a more interesting quest and story to actually get it. But does that really matter? I mean, at the end of the day, if you're just looking for a piece of power armor, I would say the free version trumps the paid one every time. It has more customizability, and even though I personally like the look of the paid one a little bit more, do I like it $7 more? Probably not. Plus with the free version, you actually get all of those additional customization types and that more exaggerated Tesla coil. But that's everything pretty much laid out, so I'm going to leave it to you guys to make your own conclusions on them. And then moving on, we actually have the She, Armor, and Weapon paint jobs. It's going to add in a new armor paint and weapon paint, each costing 100 credits. They're not a bundle. So you do have to buy each of these individually, and it'll just be for your armor or just for your weapons. These definitely look particularly cool. I mean, if you're going for like a Chinese New Year build, or maybe just even a Chinese build in general, for those of you who actually have played through Fallout 2, I know I definitely haven't. Maybe there's some kind of nostalgia effect going on with these. But to be frank, I really wasn't blown away with these. Yeah, they look kinda cool, and if you like the aesthetic of them, download them. They're $1 each, and you might just have those credits laying around in your account. With Fallout 76 right around the corner, it's very realistic that you'll never end up spending them. But then, for only a limited time, we do have the Halloween skin bundle. What this is going to add in is a bunch of skins that are Halloween themed for your various weapons and armors in the game. So in reality, this is actually going to add in 2 different skins, and you could apply those to all of the various armor pieces and all the various weapons. The first of which, and probably the one I like a little bit more, is going to be the pumpkin or orange themed one. On the armor, it definitely looks pretty cool. You have a nice jack-o'-lantern head on your chest with combat armor, and I could see people definitely liking this, especially if you're trying to get in the Halloween spirit. On weapons, it'll have some variation, but all of it will largely be the same, having some kind of jack-o'-lantern and maybe even a cobweb thrown in for just some extra credit. But then on the other side, you do have the Bats paint job. This one also looks particularly interesting. It does have a nice purple coating and then some black bats posted on top of that. Depending on which armor piece you actually apply this to, such as the synth field helmet, you may actually get a little bit added with that to make it look even cooler. But with the bat one, I would actually say it looks best on armor and not nearly as good on some of the weapons. Even in some instances, the tone was like different. Like you can see here on the 10mm, it's a different shade of purple than it is on the armor, which was just kind of weird. But on the other hand, I actually think the jack-o'-lantern paint job looked best on some of the various weapons. Either way, I would say if you were trying to weigh the pros and cons of this Halloween bundle versus the She bundle, the Halloween one definitely is a lot better of a deal. And then finally, there's actually a camouflage pack that basically took some of the camouflages we already had released and applied them to some weapons and armors. I'm not going to cover that because, again, it's all the same patterns, just applied to different things. But otherwise, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this video. Hopefully you found it informative if you're trying to make a purchase. I could definitely see maybe some PS4 users that still play Fallout 4 buying the XO2 power armor. It's not bad, it's just when you do have a free alternative of that level of quality on PC and Xbox One, it's a really hard sell. But I'll be honest, it was actually really cool seeing the Enclave back in the game. Even though the interactions were fairly brief and there wasn't like dialogue or anything, taking down a few members of the Enclave remnants over a few raiders to get to the power armor will make this stand out in my mind for a lot longer than it otherwise could have. But with that, as always, again, I thank you all for watching. I do hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.